and welcome to another episode of Council Connections. This program is an opportunity for your elected officials to keep you up to date on the events, legislation, and initiatives that matter most. I'm Char Freedberg, and today I'm pleased to welcome back Ward 1 Councilmember James Kole. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Always happy to be here with Laurel TV.
Always happy to have you here. So since your last visit, what have some of your key priorities or projects been?
So lately I've been making sure that I've been working on things that are fiscally responsible for not just the city, but also for the residents. So this past February, we introduced some legislation. I serve on the Finance, Administration, and Intergovernment Relations Committee at National League of Cities. So it's the FAIR Committee for short. So at FAIR, I serve there on the committee for the National League of Cities. And as you know, there's stuff happening in Washington right now that is going to directly impact local governments. So the current administration and members of Congress would like to get rid of municipal bonds as being tax exempt. So that is going to add costs for us as a city and other municipalities to issue bonds for projects that we need for infrastructure and capital improvements. So I introduced a resolution before council to send to all of our representatives in Congress from the state of Maryland, not just our district, but the entire state delegation, to ask them to preserve the tax exempt status for municipal bonds. We were the first city in the country to pass that. We were followed the same evening by emergency resolution in Cleveland, Ohio. Since then, I've been to Washington at congressional cities, and I advocated with other municipalities to get many more to start passing the same resolution to send to their Congress members. So hopefully we can keep the taxes lower for our residents by making sure that we have that mode of investment for us to issue the bonds.
Wow, that is incredible.
It's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. From the first time you talked about what FAIR meant, like I just said, wow, that's a mouthful.
Yep.
So what accomplishments from the past few months are you particularly proud of?
So I also introduced legislation last fall. I know it's more than a few months ago, but it's something else that I was proud of. We're able to offer a public school employee tax credit. So if you are not just a teacher, but anybody that works in a Prince George's County public school but lives in the city of Laurel, you can now get a tax credit towards your property tax bill.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
We do not directly impact public schools here in the city of Laurel, but this is something that we can extend to our teachers and our aides and our school bus drivers, all the people that are taking care of our children, to make things a little bit easier for them.
Absolutely. And you also, going to your personal life, you are very big into making our environment a better place, making our world a better place to live in. And one step that you've taken recently is you installed a geothermal system at your home. What inspired that?
It's been a very long journey. We bought an older home near the historic district in Laurel, and our air conditioning, our furnace, all of that was getting pretty old. It came way before the house. We were at the end of its life cycle. Last year we had a lot of repairs, and it was time to start looking into what could we put in. I wanted something that was going to be energy efficient. I wanted something that was also going to hopefully save us money. Everybody's utility bills are not going in the down direction, they're going up. So I looked for about 6 months into different options, whether I wanted an air source heat pump, traditional air conditioning and heat system, and then I found geothermal. There are a lot of unknown credits. Most people don't understand geothermal. You can get credits back from the state of Maryland, just like you do on your solar panels, where your system is worth so many credits and you sell the credits on a market and you literally get paid for having the system at your house.
Wow.
So the next step from there was to make sure that my property was suitable for geothermal. You have to make sure you have the right kind of bedrock, that you have the right setbacks from your property line. I was able to go in and we installed the geothermal. It's been operational now for about a week.
Wow.
And we've already seen, we also have solar panels, but we've already seen savings from the system. So we're in the time of year where we need heat in the morning and air conditioning in the afternoon. I am using maybe 10 kilowatts of power a day, but my solar panels are generating about 45 kilowatts a day. So we are selling all of our excess energy back to the utility grid. So it not only makes our house carbon neutral, but it also makes sure that we're giving back to the grid. Our grid is already struggling. There's not enough power capacity with all the data centers that are being built. We need more power generation. So we have the solar panels, and now with this system, we're able to put our excess energy back into the grid.
Wow, that is incredible. So a lot of people are unfamiliar with everything you just said. So how does a ground source heat pump actually work?
So we can kind of start where everybody is familiar with. You normally have your outside box that has the fan and the coils, and it blows hot air all summer long, and it takes the heat from inside your home out into the outside air. With geothermal, they put it either in the ground, it can go into if you're in a larger property, it can go in a pond, and they take that warmth from in your house in the summertime, and instead of pumping it into the air outside, they pump it into the ground. And in the wintertime, the system reverses. There's natural heat in the ground. The ground about 6 feet down is about 55 degrees. So the system reverses in the winter and brings the heat inside. So I still need a heating element. So when that 55 degrees comes in, instead of heating it from the outside temperature of like 30 degrees in the winter and warming it up to the inside desired temperature, it's warming it from 55. So you're not using as much power to warm up the air.
Wow, that sounds super efficient.
It's very complicated. There's a big machine in my basement now. It's full of lots of sensors and computer chips.
How much space does that take up in your basement?
It's about double the size of my previous unit.
Wow.
Because they had to pump in, there's like these big 2-inch lines that go through the basement because it's filled with water. So all of these lines, it's really just a simple system, uses about the same amount of energy as a hairdryer to run the pump.
Wow. That is, wow. Like, I'm trying to find the words for that, but that's like not too much energy compared to a lot of other things.
So the system is about 4 times as efficient as a traditional system, and it's twice as efficient as an air source heat pump.
Wow, that is awesome. So now that we're talking about environmental benefits, what other kinds of benefits, savings, or environmental have you seen?
So we've only had it now for about a week, but one of the things that we're seeing is we're going to have much lower utility costs. With that utility cost, we've made sure that we've done the insulation as well, so that we're not just heating the outside. All the heating and conditioning is staying inside the house. But the other benefits are just going to be the lower carbon emissions, because energy has to come from somewhere, whether it's from your home, from a power plant, from a wind farm or solar farm. It has to come from somewhere. So we're doing our part to do what we can to make sure this happens. And it's not a cheap project. There are a lot of rebates, though, that made this affordable. When I was looking at this, I wasn't looking at the install cost. I was looking at what would the long-term savings be.
Right.
So I am essentially fixing the cost of my electric bill for the next 20 years.
Wow.
So as over time things trend up, I mean, every cost goes up, whether it's food, energy, it goes up. When you switch over to a system like this, it's a little bit of an upfront investment, but it keeps that payment the same because my system's paying for itself.
That is honestly a great way to give back, make sure the environment is in a much more stable place, and also make sure that you are not paying as much. So it's a win-win.
And it makes a lot of sense if you have a perfectly working furnace that there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make sense to replace it yet. Probably not the best idea, but if you were like me and you're at the end of the system, it's time to start exploring options. So it made sense for us to replace it at the time, but it didn't make sense to just replace it when things were working. When we started having repairs, it was time to replace, and we wanted to do what was going to be best for the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that actually kind of segues into the next question. Would you recommend everything that you're doing to other Laurel residents, or are there any other programs or resources you'd suggest?
So geothermal doesn't work for everybody. Your property might not be there. You might be in a condo. There are options. If you wanted to look at greener alternatives, you can buy into solar co-ops because not every property can have solar panels. So you can do some of the community sharing stuff, but it's not going to work for everybody. Only certain properties are going to be able to get this because they might not have enough space to put the well, or there might be some obstacle in the front yard like a gas line that they can't drill through.
Yeah, so speaking of the community, you've been a big supporter of volunteerism in the community. Why is that so important to you?
So you don't feel like you're part of the city unless you get involved with the community you're in. So whether you're in Laurel or you're in Beltsville, if you're just living there and you don't know your neighbors, you don't know the organizations that are around, it doesn't feel like home. Getting involved has made me feel like Laurel's my home. I know the person walking down my street. Makes me feel a little bit safer that I know who that person is. It also gives me a sense of purpose. Right now things are very, very trying with the political climate. And knowing that I can make a difference in my backyard makes a whole lot of difference to me. because I'm helping, whether it's picking up trash or volunteering at a food bank. Those are the kinds of things that make you have a community.
Absolutely. And you volunteered most recently with the Patuxent River cleanup.
So the Patuxent River cleanup has been happening now for 18 years. Something the City of Laurel puts on through Parks and Recreation. I saw that it was advertised and I went to help.
Yeah, which is honestly incredible. Can you share some examples of how volunteers are making an impact in Laurel right now?
So in Laurel, we rely heavily on volunteers, whether it's the 4th of July committee. The Board of Trade is not part of the city, but it's another organization in the city. All of the events that we enjoy as a city don't happen strictly from city employees. They happen through volunteer organizations. So if you want to see the fireworks, maybe help fundraise for the fireworks. There's also parking. So we're shutting down roads so that people can go to the fireworks. If you want to volunteer, you can help direct traffic. You can help shut down that intersection for a few hours. It gives us more manpower so we don't have to raise taxes to hire additional staff.
Absolutely. And I think right now a lot of people want to keep their taxes lower.
In our current climate, there's deficits at the federal level, at the state level, county level. We don't have them at the local level here in Laurel, but we want to make sure it doesn't go that direction. So whatever we can do to keep our costs low and responsible for the residents is my priority.
Yeah, going into that, how can residents get more involved in local efforts and make the city feel more like it's their home, like you mentioned?
So we have a volunteer organization, Volunteer Laurel. It's run by Corinne Kubek. We're actually having a volunteer fair later this month. We have them periodically throughout the year. So this year, it'll be on April 30th at the Laurel Multi-Service Center. And all the organizations that have volunteer opportunities have been invited to set up a table there. So it's a great way for you to go and learn about whether it's 4th of July, or you can be on environmental affairs, or any of the city commissions and committees that need volunteers will be there. And if you can't attend that event, you can always email Corinne and get that information. She has a whole list. There's normally posts on our social media and in our newsletter of all the vacancies and where we need help.
That is super awesome to hear. So now going back into you personally, what are your top priorities for the rest of the year?
So for the rest of the year, I've already mentioned that there are difficulties with budgets at the state and county level. I want to make sure that we're doing what's fiscally responsible for all of our residents. They entrust us as elected officials to take care of their tax dollars, but also to make sure that we're doing everything possible that we can for them. We got to give them the best bang for the buck. So while it might make sense this year, I'm not looking at just 1 year's budget. I'm looking what cost is going to happen 2, 3, 5 years from now. Because what we decide this year is going to impact future years. So we need to make sure that we're looking at long-term costs of whatever projects we're working with.
Absolutely. And are there any upcoming events or initiatives that you're excited about?
I'm always excited for our Main Street Festival. When I first came to Laurel, that was the first event I went to, and it just makes it feel like a really small town. It almost feels like a family reunion. All the people coming back, whether they lived in Laurel, went to high school here, moved out, they come back for Main Street Festival. It's a really big event for the city, and it just makes it feel like home.
Absolutely. So keep your eyes open for all the events that he mentioned, especially the Main Street Festival, which will be live streamed on Laurel TV on Saturday, May 10th, starting at 9 o'clock. So if you can't make it there, you can watch online. So how can your constituents contact you?
So they're always able to call our clerk's office, call the number for City Hall, ask for the clerk's office. They can leave a message there. If they don't want to use the phone, I mean, City Hall's closed certain hours of the day, and not everybody's free in the middle of the day. They can always email me at jkole, K-O-L-E, @laurel.md.us, or they can follow me on social media at Councilman Kole. So Facebook, Instagram, I think I have a Twitter now. I'm there. You can follow what I'm doing. You can message me there. I'm happy to get back to you. I have a full-time job in addition to this, so I might not get back to you right away, but I try to answer emails within 24 hours.
You are a very busy man, so we thank you very much, Ward 1 Council Member James Kole, for taking time out of your super busy day to speak with us about your initiatives.
Happy to be here.
And thank you for tuning into this episode of Council Connections. I'm Char Freedberg, and I'll see you next time.